In a remote corner of the northern countryside, nestled beside the tranquil yet mysterious Siren River, lay the small village of Banmuangha. Every year, during the dry season, the river would recede, revealing lush, fertile silt banks. Locals flocked there to plant sweet potatoes and wild herbs, blessed by the rich nutrients left behind. It was a cycle they cherished, nature's quiet generosity. On one such late afternoon, the sun hovered low on the horizon, casting a golden hue across the water's surface. Mist began to gather, thin and weightless, drifting lazily above the river. A girl named Lin, no older than 20, wore a faded conical hat and carried a woven basket. Her slender fingers dug swiftly into the soil, pulling out plump tubers, one by one. Just as she reached for another, a cold hand suddenly rested on her shoulder. Startled, Lin spun around, her headlamp's beam slicing through the dusk, and let out a scream. She stumbled back, her basket of sweet potatoes tumbling into the dirt. The light revealed a face pale as ash, with sunken eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The figure said nothing, only stood there watching. Then, it laughed. Not a ghost but a prank. It was Min, a young man in army fatigues, barely holding back his snickers as he removed the grotesque mask from his face. "I thought you said you weren't afraid of ghosts," Min teased, crouching beside her. Lin's face turned crimson. She clenched her fists but said nothing, brushing the dirt from her clothes. Okay, I'm sorry," Min added, softer this time. "Just wanted to make you laugh. I'm leaving in 2 days, remember?" His words settled in the air like ash. Min had recently returned on leave from his post at the borderlands, and Lin knew their time together was short. She said nothing at first, only nodded and began gathering the scattered potatoes. As they walked along the riverbank, the two exchanged stories. Then, Lin mentioned something that changed the tone entirely. "Did you hear about Huang, the girl from the lower village?" she asked. Min frowned. "What about her?" "She jumped off the bridge last night," Lin whispered. "What? Why?" "She was in love with a rich boy. Got pregnant. 5 months in. The guy denied everything. Her family, his family, there was shouting, blame, shame. She couldn't take it." Min sighed, shaking his head. "People like him. They break lives and walk away." The air grew colder as the last of the sunlight slipped away. Crickets chirped. The trees around them whispered. Lin stopped walking. "You know," she said softly, "I've always wondered. What happens to souls that die like that? Suddenly. Full of anger. Regret. Where do they go?" Min didn't respond. Not immediately. He looked at her, his eyes more serious than before. "I don't know. But I don't think they ever go far." Back in the village, the narrow footpaths between the stilted houses were lined with flickering lanterns. Men lived in the same village, just a few houses down from Lean. They had grown up like siblings, inseparable during childhood, chasing frogs, climbing trees, and racing through the rice fields. But something had changed recently, something Lean couldn't put into words. When Min left for the army, it was as if a part of her had gone with him. That night, Min prepared to return to his post. He wore his military-issued jacket, brushed the dust from his boots. Lean stood by her doorway, unable to speak. The moonlight reflected off her tear-filled eyes. "You'll come back, right?" she asked at last. Min smiled and patted her head. "Of course. I'll write to you. 3 months from now, I'll be back." He turned to go. As the army truck rumbled into the village square, Lean ran after it. She rode her old bicycle, the same one she used to ride to school, the wheels squeaking with every turn. Min looked back through the dusty window and saw her. Her hair flew wildly. Her face was streaked with tears. He felt his chest tighten. In that moment, a comrade next to him nudged him. "Girlfriend." The guy smirked. Min shook his head. "Just a friend. We grew up together." Another soldier leaned forward, laughing. "If that's just a friend, I must have misread the world." The truck rolled on. From the back window, Min saw Lean shrink smaller and smaller until she disappeared behind the trees. Their destination was a military outpost nestled deep in the mountains, near the border. The journey was long and winding, passing through dense forests, silent ravines, and wild terrain untouched by civilization. The post, Camp 17, was remote, barely 60 people, just 2 rows of wooden barracks built decades ago. Min's first few days were hard. Nights were cold, food was sparse, and wild animals howled outside. But every night before sleep, he pulled out a photo him and Lean, taken during the New Year festival. Her smile gave him strength. Then came the order. They were to head into a small ethnic village, several kilometers away, to assist in setting up literacy classes and offer manual labor rebuilding houses, helping harvest crops, digging irrigation channels. When Min arrived at the village of Na Luang, he felt a strange sensation. The air smelled different. The silence was heavier. 2 elders, an old man and woman, presumably the village leaders, came to greet them. And beside them, stood a girl. She was not Lean. But she looked at Min with the same sorrowful eyes that were too old for someone her age. She wore a traditional dress, blue and indigo threads, hand-stitched. Her hair was tied in a single braid that hung over her shoulder. Min blinked. She vanished. He turned to his comrades. "Did anyone else see the girl next to the elders?" They looked at him strangely. "What girl?" That night, the soldiers settled into their assigned quarters, an old stilt house on the edge of the village. The building creaked with every step, and a thin layer of dust coated the wooden floorboards. Men sat by the window, staring out into the forest. Moonlight spilled across the valley, but the shadows seemed to twist unnaturally among the trees. Men couldn't shake the image of the girl in traditional clothes. She had looked at him. Not through him. At him. "Min," a voice called behind him. It was Tu, his cheerful bunkmate. "You all right? You've been quiet since we got here." Min hesitated. "Did you really not see the girl earlier?" Tu furrowed his brows. "Old man, old woman, no one else. Are you sure it wasn't a reflection or shadow?" "I'm sure." Tu clapped Min on the back. "You're tired. Tomorrow, we start work. You'll forget all about spooky village girls." Min didn't sleep well. The creaking above his head sounded too rhythmic, as if someone were pacing. He got up once to check, but found only the wind stirring the thatched ceiling. The next morning, Min's squad was divided into groups to help the villagers. Min was assigned to fetch water from the well near the central shrine, a circular stone structure covered in lichen, with faded carvings along the base. The air around it was oddly cold, even under the sun. As Min lowered the bucket into the well, a cold gust of wind brushed his back. The hairs on his neck stood up. Then a voice. Very soft. Very close. "Why did you come back?" He spun around. No one. Only trees. The shrine. The empty path behind him. His heart pounded. Was it the wind? Was someone playing a prank? Min tried to ignore it and pulled up the bucket. The water was clear, too clear, unnaturally so. As he leaned over the well to inspect the depth, he saw a ripple on the surface. Then another face. Not his. A pale girl's face stared back from the water, black eyes wide, lips parted in a silent scream. Her image twisted in the ripple as if drowning beneath the surface. Min staggered back, dropping the bucket. It hit the stone edge with a loud clang. Tu ran over. Min. What happened? Min pointed at the well, breathless. There's something in there. They both looked. But the water was calm. Clear. Nothing. The elders' silence. Later that evening, Min approached the village elder couple as they lit incense at a small household altar. The scent of sandalwood filled the air. Excuse me, Min said, hesitant. Earlier, I thought I saw a girl with you. By the gate. Dressed in blue. The elder man froze. He slowly turned to Min with a face drained of warmth. "There was no one else with us," he said flatly. "But she..." "There was no one," the elder woman interrupted, her voice colder. The two exchanged a glance. Min felt a shiver run down his spine. Later, as Min returned to the stilled house, Tu handed him a small notebook. "Found this under the floorboards while sweeping," Tu said. "Might be interesting." Min opened it. It was old. The cover bore faded ink that read, "Journal of Lin Hoa." He flipped through the pages. Handwritten entries detailed the life of a village girl, her days helping her parents, her friendship with another girl named An, and her fear of a hidden shrine deep in the woods. The last entry was abrupt. An said she saw someone standing at the well again. She heard voices. "I told her not to go near it, but she said she had to. That night, she didn't come home." Min's fingers trembled. The handwriting grew frantic. "They told us it was an accident. But I saw the mark on her shoulder. The same as the one on the shrine wall. I know the truth now. I can't stay here. If I disappear too, please tell my parents I didn't mean to break the seal." That last line was circled in red ink. Break the seal. The village rumor. That night, around a small cooking fire, men pulled Tu and two others aside. "There's something wrong with the well," men began. "And maybe this entire village." Tu looked uneasy. "You mean like haunted? Possessed? Cursed? Something," Min whispered. "I found this journal. A girl named Lin Hoa. Her friend vanished after seeing something near the shrine. Then Lin disappeared too." The others exchanged glances. One of them, "Hi," said, "My cousin told me about a village like this once. Said it was built on top of an old temple. A place where people used to seal evil spirits underground. Sometimes, if the seal breaks, the spirits come out angry." Tu frowned. "That's just a story?" "Yeah." Min snapped. "Then explain the face in the well." Hai leaned closer. "There's a local belief. When a girl dies unjustly murdered, betrayed, or drowned, her spirit becomes a maniac, a water ghost. Especially if it happens during a full moon." Min's blood ran cold. "Tonight's a full moon." They all went quiet. A shadow in the firelight. Later that night, as the soldiers gathered for dinner, Min noticed the elder couple sitting farther than usual. The old woman avoided his gaze. The old man's hands trembled as he ladled soup into a bowl. Then Min saw her again. The girl, standing behind the elders, just at the edge of the firelight. Her eyes locked onto his. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't crying. She was waiting. Min blinked. She was gone. That night, despite the cool mountain air, Min found himself drenched in sweat. He tossed and turned on the bamboo mat inside the stilt house, the journal of Lin Hoa still tucked under his pillow. Outside, the forest had gone silent. No insects. No owls. Not even the wind. Only silence. Then the scratching. A soft scritch from beneath the floorboards. Min sat up, holding his breath. He scanned the room. Two and the others were still fast asleep. The scratching grew louder, now accompanied by the soft creak of a wooden plank shifting under weight. And then the unmistakable sound of a footstep. He reached for his flashlight, but it refused to turn on. Dead battery. He turned toward the door of the room, where the moonlight slipped through the cracks in the wood. A figure was standing there. A girl. Her head tilted downward, hair cascading over her face like a curtain of shadows. Her bare feet didn't make a sound on the floor. Min froze. Come back. Her voice echoed in his head, not his ears. He opened his mouth to speak, but the figure turned and floated toward the staircase. Min felt himself compelled to follow. The staircase and the shrine. Outside, the full moon bathed the village in a silver glow. The girl drifted ahead of him, just far enough that he couldn't see her face. Her white dress flowed like fog, never touching the ground. She led him down the path, past the well, past the elder's house, and deeper into the trees toward a hill he hadn't noticed before. On top of it stood a crumbling shrine, half swallowed by roots and moss. The front stone was cracked, revealing a hollow void behind it. The girl stepped into the shrine. Min hesitated at the edge. Suddenly, the air turned thick like water pressing on his lungs. The forest behind him darkened unnaturally, as if the moonlight refused to shine there anymore. Do you remember me? The voice asked again. Min's hands shook. I don't. Then a burst of wind slammed into him, knocking him forward. The world spun. He landed on the stone floor hard. When he looked up, the girl was standing before him, her face no longer hidden. But it wasn't just one face. It shifted between that of Lin Hoa, and a third he didn't recognize. Three of us, the voice whispered. Three broken seals. Suddenly, Min felt searing pain across his chest. He looked down and saw red symbols glowing beneath his skin, burning like iron brands. You must tell them. Before the fourth seal breaks. He screamed. Awakening. Min sat bolt upright in bed, panting, drenched in cold sweat. Two stirred beside him. Dude, are you okay? Min's voice trembled. A dream. Just a dream. But the pain in his chest hadn't gone away. He lifted his shirt. Nothing was there. No burn. No marks. Just skin. But the fear lingered. The marked photo. After breakfast, Min wandered near the shrine again. He approached cautiously, checking the old stone cracks, still unsure if he had actually gone there or just imagined it all. And then he saw it. Nestled at the shrine's base, almost hidden among the leaves, was a faded photograph. He picked it up. It was curled at the edges, but still visible. 3 girls. Standing together, in traditional clothes. Laughing. One of them was the girl he had seen. One was Lin Hoa, confirmed by the journal's back page, where her name was signed. The third. It was Lin. His Lin. Min's legs almost gave out. What was Lin doing in a photo that looked decades old? He flipped the photo over. Scrawled in red ink was a date, October 14, 1992. Impossible. Lin was only 20 years old. The elder's confession. That afternoon, Min couldn't hold it in any longer. He marched to the elder's house, photo in hand. The old woman opened the door, startled to see him so intense. "You lied to me," Min said, placing the photo on the table. The elder man slowly approached. When his eyes fell on the photo, all the color drained from his face. His hands began to tremble. "You were not supposed to find that," the old man whispered. "Who are they?" Min asked. The elder sat down, his voice raspy. "They were daughters of this land. 3 girls born under the ghost moon. The villagers believed they were chosen. But the spirits saw them differently." The old woman added, "Each girl was marked by fate. And when the seal was broken, the one beneath the old shrine, the spirits came for them. But this girl," Min said, pointing at Lin's face, "she's from my village. This photo is 30 years old. She wasn't even born then." "She was reborn," the elder said darkly. "They all were. Each time a seal breaks, the spirit of the one lost tries to return. Through dreams. Through faces. Through memory." Min felt the world blur around him. "You must leave," the old woman said. "You've been marked now." That night, the atmosphere in the village shifted. The villagers, usually warm and welcoming, had grown quieter. Doors closed earlier. Lanterns were dimmer. Even the children's laughter had vanished into hushed whispers and wary glances toward the hills. The air felt heavier. Min returned to the barracks, the photograph of the 3 girls still gripped tightly in his hand. 2 was waiting inside, leaning against the wooden beam, arms crossed. "You disappeared all afternoon," Tu said. "Where were you?" "With the elders," Min replied, voice low. "They know something. And they're hiding it?" Tu raised an eyebrow. "About what?" Min handed him the photo. Tu's eyes widened. "Wait, this girl, isn't this?" "Lean," Min confirmed. "But the photo is dated 1992. Tu looked up slowly, his face paling. "But that's impossible." "I know," Min whispered. "A forbidden name." Later that night, Min, Tu, and 2 other soldiers gathered around a small fire outside the barracks. The sky was pitch black. No stars. No moon. Tu leaned in. "There's a name scratched into the back of the photo, barely visible. Lin Hoa. She was the girl in the journal." "And the third girl?" Hai asked, his voice trembling. "The one on the right." Min shook his head. "No clue. But the elders told me something about 3 seals, 3 girls born under the ghost moon, destined to contain some ancient spirit. They said each time a seal is broken, one of the girls vanishes. Their soul is taken." Hai scoffed nervously. "That sounds like fairy tale bullshit." "Then explain this," Min snapped. He pulled up his shirt. On his chest, barely visible under his skin, a symbol shimmered faintly, 3 interlocking circles, glowing red for a moment before fading. The group fell silent. Then the wind howled. "The drumming begins." At exactly midnight, the sound of distant drums echoed from deep in the forest. A slow, steady dum, 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 like a heart pounding inside the earth. The villagers didn't react. They acted as if they couldn't hear it. Min stood. "That's coming from the shrine hill." Tu grabbed his arm. "We're not supposed to go there at night." Min's voice turned grim. "We don't have a choice." The shrine revisited. The 4 soldiers ascended the hill, flashlights cutting through the fog that had appeared out of nowhere. The shrine stood in eerie silence, half swallowed by vines and time. But now, red symbols had begun to glow faintly on its stone surface. Min stepped forward. "Last time I was here," he muttered, "she told me there were 3 seals. But what if?" He touched the central symbol. Instantly, a cold shock surged through his body. His flashlight blinked out. And then, a voice, not from outside but inside his mind. "The 4th seal was never meant to exist." The ground trembled. Behind the shrine, a hole began to open, a narrow tunnel leading deep into the earth. Its edges were ringed with old bones and burned incense sticks. Hai cursed. That wasn't here before. Two's flashlight flickered. We shouldn't go down there. But Min had already started climbing in. The descent. The tunnel was damp, lined with old carvings and crude drawings. Figures with elongated limbs, screaming mouths, and hollow eyes decorated the walls. Min's heart pounded with each step. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Then they found her. At the end of the tunnel, a small underground chamber opened up, and in the center was a stone coffin, sealed with wax and rope charms. A skeleton in ceremonial robes lay beside it, clutching a rusted knife and a talisman. And then they saw the mural behind the coffin. It depicted 4 girls. Not 3. All standing around the shrine. Each with a symbol glowing on their chest. The 4th girl's face had been scratched out violently. 2 stepped closer. What the hell is this? Min's breath caught in his throat. Lean, he whispered. What? The others asked. Min pointed to the robes on the skeleton. These aren't villager clothes. They're from my province. She was sacrificed here. And reborn as Lean. Suddenly, the room shook. The coffin began to tremble. The charms on it burned away in smoke. A voice filled the chamber, echoing from the stone. The last seal has been touched, you are all part of it now. Rising shadows. They scrambled out of the tunnel as fast as they could, just as the earth behind them cracked open further. A black mist burst from the hilltop, spiraling into the night sky. The drums returned, louder and faster now, panic in rhythm. When they reached the village, the elder and his wife were already waiting. You touched it, didn't you? The old man demanded. You woke it? I had to, Min gasped. She showed me. The old woman's eyes were wet with tears. You don't understand, if the 4th seal is broken, it no longer stops the spirit. It invites it. What spirit? Min shouted. The old man raised his hand toward the forest. The one sealed here generations ago. A demon. A god of vengeance. A spirit that feeds on regret, betrayal, and love that dies unanswered. Lean's letter. That evening, Min found a letter slipped into his pack. It was from Lean. Asterisk Min, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. I've had dreams too, ever since I was a child. I see faces I don't know but feel like I've met before. I see myself drowning, but I can't scream. I think I'm not the first version of me. Maybe I never was. Maybe I've been someone else 3 times already. I hope you'll remember me. Even if I forget myself again. Love. Lean. Asterisk. The forest refused to sleep, After the incident at the Shrine Hill, the entire village seemed to sink under a pall of silence. The drums had stopped, but a new sound replaced them, the low, distant sound of wailing. At first, it was barely audible, like the wind crying through bamboo groves. But as midnight approached, the crying grew sharper, more human, more real. Min sat alone outside the barracks, his hands trembling as he held Lean's letter. The ink had smudged slightly, possibly from his own sweat. But her words were burned into his mind. Maybe I've been someone else 3 times already. That line gnawed at him. Who was she before? What had she seen? What had she carried? 2 emerged quietly from the barracks, holding 2 cups of hot tea. You look like you've aged 10 years in one night, he said, offering Min one. Min accepted the cup but didn't drink. I think she's trying to talk to me, Min muttered. Lean. 2 hesitated. You think she's a spirit? A reincarnation? I don't know anymore. Min looked up at the moonless sky. But I know she's not just a girl from my village. She's part of all this. 2 sat beside him in silence. Then he said something unexpected. You're not the only one she's contacted. Min turned sharply. What? I had a dream last night, 2 admitted, his voice low. I was by a river, and a girl in white was standing in the water, crying. She didn't say anything, but she looked like she wanted me to follow her. When I stepped in, the river turned black. Min's heart skipped. The Siren River. 2 nodded. That's the same river Lean and I grew up beside. The river's secret. The next morning, Min asked the village elder to take him to the river outside the village. The man reluctantly agreed, but warned. If she's leading you back to water, be careful. Spirits remember their death most clearly where it happened. The river was not like Min remembered. Here, in the highlands, the Siren River had a narrow bend where the current was slower, calmer. But the water was unusually still, mirror-like, undisturbed by wind or wildlife. Min approached the bank alone. 2 and Hai waited behind. He knelt down and gazed into the reflection. For a moment, he saw himself. Then, he saw her. Lean. Dressed in a soaked white gown, hair floating like seaweed around her, face pale and lips blue, but her eyes were wide open, looking directly at him through the reflection. Don't let them bury me again, the voice echoed not aloud, but inside his skull. Don't let them silence the truth. Then the reflection shattered, ripples tore across the surface violently. Min stumbled backward, gasping. 2 ran to his side. What did you see? She's trapped, Min muttered. But she's not angry at me. she's angry at them. Someone tried to erase her. The story of the fourth girl. Back at the elder's home, Min demanded answers. "You told me about 3 girls," he said. "But I saw 4 on the mural. And now I know one of them was sacrificed." The elder sighed, his voice brittle. "She wasn't supposed to die. The fourth girl was an accident." "An accident? She wasn't born during the ghost moon like the others," the old woman interrupted, joining the conversation. "But she showed signs, dreams, visions, the mark. The villagers feared that she would disrupt the balance. They believed she was a counterfeit seal," the elder continued. "That her very presence would awaken the spirit instead of binding it. So they made a decision." Men stared, horrified. "They killed her. They called it a ritual." "Where?" The elder hesitated. "The well. The well of the forgotten." That evening, just before sunset, Min, too, and Hai returned to the well. It no longer looked like just a water source. The stone was cracked. The carvings around it, once thought to be decorative, resembled binding seals, partially worn away by time and weather. Men peered into the water. It was still. Too still. Then something floated up. A scrap of fabric. Men reached for it with a branch and pulled it out. It was white, old, but unmistakably part of a traditional gown. Suddenly, the wind shifted. A low hum started, vibrating through the stone, through their boots. Men backed away. Then a voice spoke, not from within the well, but from behind them. "You shouldn't have come back." They turned. The old woman was there, alone, her walking stick pressed into the dirt. But her face no longer showed confusion or kindness. It was cold. Unrecognizable. "You stirred something that was meant to rest," she hissed. "And now she's awake." Men stepped forward. "She's not evil. You killed her. Lied about her. She deserves peace. She made the seals unstable," the old woman snarled. "She brought it back." The sky darkened. Clouds gathered, and the air grew heavy, charged. Lightning flashed, revealing a figure standing in the tree line. A girl in white. Hair soaked. Face hidden. Hai let out a shaky breath. "That's her." Men stepped forward, toward the girl. "Lean." But when the lightning flashed again, she was gone. Back to the shrine. Knowing time was running out, men led the others back to the shrine at dawn. The tunnel was wider now, as if the earth itself had split more open during the night. Inside, the coffin had cracked. A pulse echoed from beneath it, like a heartbeat. Tu held out the journal of Lin Hoa. "There's a final page we didn't read," he whispered. Min took the book and read aloud. "If anyone finds this, know that we were never meant to stop it forever. We were only meant to hold it long enough, for someone who could forgive it." But the fourth girl was not chosen to seal. She was chosen to break. The air turned ice cold. Min suddenly understood. Lin wasn't the seal. She was the key. The air inside the shrine tunnel was suffocating. The stone coffin in the center had cracked open just slightly, but enough to let out a steady stream of cold air and a distant, otherworldly sound. Not a voice. Not a whisper. It was weeping. Min stood frozen with the journal still in hand, the final page burning in his mind. She was chosen to break. Chosen not to seal the spirit away, but to unleash it. Tu shone his flashlight over the edges of the coffin. Symbols once glowing red had faded to dull, scorched lines, as if they had been burned from the inside. Hai stepped closer, nervous. What's inside there?" Min said nothing. But he could feel it, a presence watching them from within, like eyes peering through stone. A voice from the darkness. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed down the tunnel behind them. All three men turned toward the entrance, flashlights up, only to see a figure slowly approaching. It was a girl. But not Lin. Her skin was ash gray, her white gown tattered and soaked. Her hair clung to her face, which was hidden in shadow. Her arms hung limply at her sides. Water dripped from her fingertips, though there was no water on the ground. She stopped a few feet away. "You broke it," she whispered. Her voice echoed as if underwater. Min swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The girl lifted her head. Her face was bruised, swollen, lifeless, the face of a drowned corpse. "I was the first," she said. "The first to scream, and no one came." Tu took a step back. This isn't real." "You want her back?" the girl asked, staring at Min. "Then come take her." She turned and walked straight through the coffin, her form dissolving into black mist as she passed. The sound of stone grinding filled the chamber. The coffin lid began to move. The dead remember. As the coffin slid open, the temperature dropped sharply. Inside, there was no skeleton. Only water. A perfectly still, black pool inside the stone coffin, impossibly deep. From its surface, a hand slowly emerged, pale, slender, and very much alive. It was followed by an arm, then a shoulder, then a head. It was Lin. But not the Lin he remembered. Her eyes were hollow, glowing faintly with white light. Her skin was unnaturally smooth, her hair floating around her as though she were still submerged. She looked at Min and smiled. But the smile was wrong. Not warm. Not love. Something ancient. Detached. Min stepped forward, heartbreaking. Lean, is that you? She cocked her head to one side, her voice echoing like the girl before her. I remember your face, in 3 lives. But in none of them did you save me. 2 shouted, Min. Don't get too close. But it was too late. Lean raised her hand. The water inside the coffin exploded outward in a tidal wave of black mist, slamming all 3 men against the stone walls. Min coughed, his lungs burning. Something was inside the mist whispers, screaming, laughing, crying all at once. He reached for the journal, it had been flung away. And in that moment, everything stopped. Inside the memory, Min opened his eyes. He wasn't in the shrine anymore. He was standing in a familiar village, by the Siren River. The sky was gray. Rain fell lightly. And on the bridge ahead, he saw a girl in white. Lean. But younger. Maybe 14. She looked afraid. Behind her stood the villagers, chanting, faces masked in cloth, torches in hand. The elder woman was among them. So was the man. Lean, this younger version of her, begged. Please, I didn't do anything wrong. But the villagers wouldn't listen. They dragged her to the center of the bridge, bound her wrists, and placed a stone necklace around her neck. You carry the mark, the elder shouted. You have no place in this world. Men screamed. Stop it. You're wrong. But they couldn't hear him. This was a memory. And Lean was pushed into the river. The last thing Min saw before the vision shattered was her eyes full of pain and betrayal as they disappeared beneath the water. Back in the shrine, Min awoke on the cold stone floor. Tu was beside him, bleeding from the forehead. Hai was unconscious. The coffin was empty. But Lean was standing in the center of the room. She looked human again. Normal. But Min knew better. You saw it, she said softly. Now you understand. He stood, shaking. They murdered you. You weren't cursed. You were scapegoated. Lean walked slowly toward him. They said I would destroy everything. But I was only trying to be loved. Min nodded, tears in his eyes. Then come back. Let me help you. She stopped. Do you love me? The word sliced through him. And he realized this wasn't a question. It was a test. He stepped forward and held out his hand. I always have. For a moment, her face changed, softened. Then a scream tore through the shrine. Lean clutched her head, her eyes turning black. The spirit was fighting her. You must seal it again, she gasped. You must bind me. Before it takes over. Min froze. No. I won't lose you again. If you don't, it will use my face, to destroy the village, and then the world. The stone around the coffin began to crack. The mist returned. The others were waking. Two shouted, "What do we do?" Men looked at the old talisman, the rusted ceremonial knife still lying on the floor. His choice was clear. Men's hands trembled as he gripped the ceremonial knife. The air was thick with cold mist swirling like a living shadow. The shrine chamber, the very heart of the ancient curse, was collapsing around them, as if the earth itself wanted to swallow the dark secret whole. Lean's eyes flickered between the luminous white of hope and the black abyss of the spirit battling within her. You must seal me, she whispered, voice strained. Or the demon will consume everything. Min's heart shattered. He looked at the knife's blade, rusted but still sharp enough to cut flesh and bone and to bind spirits. The others too and Hai stood back, watching helplessly. Lean, Min said, voice cracking, if I do this, will I lose you forever? Her smile was bittersweet. Only in this life. But you'll save the village. And me. The ritual begins. Min knelt beside the coffin, the knife poised. The journal's last page fluttered on the floor, its words now seared into his memory. To seal the spirit, you must bind it with sacrifice and love. The seal is broken by hatred and betrayal. He closed his eyes, trying to summon courage. The damp stone beneath him pulsed faintly. Lean stepped forward, raising her arms. Focus on me. Think of the memories we shared. Men imagined their childhood running through the rice paddies, laughing under the sun, the soft touch of her hand, the warmth of her smile. He plunged the knife into the ground beside the coffin. A clash of souls. A scream tore through the air. The black mist surged violently, forming into a monstrous figure, half shadow, half flame, with eyes like burning coals. It roared, shaking the shrine. Lean cried out in agony as the spirit within her fought back. Her form flickered, one moment fragile and human, the next monstrous and twisted. Min grabbed her hand. Fight it, Lean. Fight it for us. Lean's eyes glowed fiercely. I'm not alone, she whispered. From the shadows, 3 more figures emerged, the spirits of Linhoa, the drowned girl, and the first sacrificed sister. Their faces were serene but resolute. They joined hands with Lean, forming a circle of light. The demon spirit screamed, clawing at the circle's edges. The final sacrifice. The ground trembled. Men realized what must be done. To seal the curse, he must bind himself with Lean's spirit, sharing their fates forever. He raised the knife and cut a small gash across his palm. Lean mirrored him, tears shining in her eyes. They clasped hands, mingling blood. Together, she said. The light from their joined hands flared, enveloping the shrine. The demon spirit writhed, then began to shrink, pulled into the coffin's black water. With a final, earth-shaking roar, the coffin slammed shut. Silence. Aftermath. Men collapsed, exhausted. Tu and Hai rushed to his side. Lean's form shimmered softly, then began to fade. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved us all." Her eyes met Min's one last time. "Remember me, in the next life." And then, she was gone. Epilogue, the river runs clear. Days later, the villagers noticed a change. The river sparkled anew. The village was alive with laughter. Men stood by the bank, watching the water flow. He pulled out Lean's photo and smiled sadly. The curse was sealed for now. But deep in his heart, he knew. The story was far from over. Days had passed since the ritual at the shrine, yet Min's mind remained restless. The village was lively again, but shadows clung to his thoughts like stubborn fog. One morning, as he walked along the riverbank, he noticed an elderly man sitting quietly on a wooden bench near the water. The man's eyes, sharp and knowing, followed Min's every step. "Come, sit," the elder beckoned, his voice calm but filled with weight. Min hesitated, then took a seat beside him. "I am Old Quan," the man introduced himself. "I have lived here longer than most. And I know what you did." Min nodded slowly, still feeling the heaviness of his choice. "Many don't understand the true cost," Old Quan continued. "The curse was bound not just by magic, but by betrayal and forgotten promises." He reached into his robe and pulled out a faded, ancient scroll sealed with a crimson ribbon. "This," he said, "is the record of the sealed sisters. It holds the truth no one dared speak. The scroll's secret." Min unrolled the scroll carefully. The faded ink told a tale centuries old. Long ago, 4 sisters lived in a peaceful village near the Siren River. Gifted with spiritual power, they protected their people from dark forces. But greed and envy poisoned the hearts of some villagers, who accused the youngest sister, Mai, of consorting with evil. To save the village, the eldest sister sealed Mai's spirit beneath the river, binding it with 3 other seals, her sisters. But Mai's spirit was not destroyed. It grew vengeful, trapped between worlds. Each time a seal weakened, the curse reawakened, claiming new lives to fuel its rage. A haunting warning. As men read, the wind shifted, carrying a faint melody, an ancient lullaby sung by voices long gone. Old Kwan's eyes narrowed. The curse never dies. It waits for the one who can forgive Mai to break the cycle. Min's heart clenched. Lin, she was Mai's reincarnation. Old Kwan nodded solemnly. And now, you carry her blood. The final seal. The return of shadows. That night, Min awoke to the sound of footsteps outside his door. He peered out and saw a figure cloaked in white moving silently through the village. He followed, heart pounding. The figure led him back to the shrine, where shadows danced in the moonlight. Suddenly, spectral figures emerged, villagers from centuries past, their faces twisted in sorrow and rage. They surrounded Min, voices echoing. You broke the seal. You brought the curse back. Lin's voice rose above the rest. Forgive me, please. Min stood firm. I will end this. For you. For all of you. The village square had transformed into an eerie arena beneath the pale moonlight. Shadows flickered as ghostly figures, the spirits of the ancestors and the cursed sisters, hovered just beyond the circle of firelight. Min stood at the center, the ancient scroll clutched tightly in his hands. Old Kwan's voice cut through the silence. Tonight, you will perform the ritual of forgiveness. It is the only way to finally break the curse. Min's heart raced, but his resolve was clear. Tell me what I must do. The binding circle. The elder carefully drew a large circle on the ground using ash and sacred herbs. Symbols of protection and love were etched inside the circle, glowing faintly. Lin's spirit appeared, luminous and fragile. She approached Min and whispered, only through true forgiveness can the seal be lifted. Min looked at her, eyes filled with both sorrow and hope, and nodded. The villagers, both living and dead, began to chant an ancient hymn, a melody of redemption and healing. Memories unveiled. As the ritual began, Min felt himself being pulled into a vision, a flood of memories not his own. He saw the sisters as children, laughing and playing beside the river. He saw Mai, the youngest, being accused falsely by jealous villagers. He saw the elders forcing the seal, their faces twisted with fear and regret. Lin's voice echoed, they feared what they didn't understand. Min's soul ached for the pain she endured. The spirit's wrath. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently. The shadows around the circle darkened and swirled into a towering, fiery figure, the demon spirit seeking vengeance. It roared, shaking the earth. The flames threatened to engulf everything. Min grasped Lin's hand tightly, focusing on the warmth of their bond. He began to recite the ancient incantation from the scroll, words of love, forgiveness, and unity. The circle glowed brighter, pushing back the darkness. A final sacrifice. The demon spirit screeched in fury and lunged toward Min and Lin. Min stepped forward, holding the ceremonial knife. Lin, no matter what happens, I love you, he said. Lean smiled sadly. And I love you. Together, they plunged the knife into the earth, their blood mingling with the soil. A blinding light exploded from the circle, enveloping the demon and the spirits. When the light faded, only silence remained. The dawn of peace. The village awoke to a clear morning. The river sparkled with renewed life, the air light and pure. Men stood alone by the water, holding the photo of the sisters. He whispered, "Rest now, Lean. And all of you." A gentle breeze carried a faint lullaby, the same song from the night before, fading into the sky. Despite the dawn's clear light and the river's sparkle, men felt no peace. The curse might have been sealed, but a heavy weight pressed on his heart and mind, a feeling that something unseen still watched from the shadows. The villagers celebrated the return of normalcy, but men noticed a change in their eyes, glances filled with suspicion and fear. Some avoided him entirely, whispering when they thought he couldn't hear. A letter from the past. One afternoon, men found a weathered envelope tucked beneath his door. Inside was a letter in delicate handwriting, unsigned but unmistakably familiar. Min. Asterisk, you think it's over, but the curse's true nature is far more complex. Lean was only one part of the story. There are others, shadows you have yet to face. Seek the truth beyond the river. A friend. A journey beyond the river. Men shared the letter with Tu and Hai. They decided to cross the river at night, to find what the truth beyond really meant. Under a cloudless sky, the trio set off. The river was calm, but as they ventured into the dense forest on the other side, an unnatural silence fell. Trees twisted unnaturally, and the air grew cold. Men's skin prickled with unease. The forgotten village. After hours of trekking, they stumbled upon ruins half swallowed by vines and moss. Broken rooftops, shattered pottery, and crumbled walls hinted at a once thriving settlement. Suddenly, ghostly whispers surrounded them, echoes of laughter, cries, and chants from centuries ago. Lean's voice echoed faintly in Min's mind, urging him forward. They found an ancient temple, its walls covered with frescoes depicting the four sisters, this time, all united, standing tall against a dark, monstrous force. The hidden truth. Inside the temple, men discovered a carved stone tablet, inscribed with a prophecy. Asterisk, when the fourth rises, the past shall awaken, and the bond shall be reforged. Only the bearer of the bloodline can reconcile the fractured souls and bring everlasting peace. A chill ran down Min's spine. Tu looked over his shoulder. What does that mean for us? Before Min could answer, the ground trembled, and the forest erupted into life. Twisted shadows coalesced, and the spirits of the past surged forward. Battle of Souls. The three soldiers fought desperately, not with weapons, but with their wills and hearts. Men called out to Lean's spirit, channeling the love and forgiveness they had forged. The air shimmered, and ghostly figures of the sisters appeared, joining forces to repel the dark shadows. Lean's voice rang clear, "This is not just my fight. It belongs to all who remember and believe. The Reforging. The battle culminated at the heart of the temple, where Min placed his hands on the carved sisters. He felt a surge in energy that bound his soul to theirs, reforging the broken seal with renewed strength. Light exploded outward, washing away the shadows and healing the land. Return and reflection. When Min and his comrades returned to their village, they found it truly changed. Hearts were lighter, and the curse was lifted. But Min knew that peace came at a cost. He had become part of the curse's legacy, a guardian of the fragile balance. The village was peaceful, but Min's nights were haunted by restless dreams. He often woke, drenched in sweat, hearing whispers carried by the wind, voices of the sisters, calling him to protect the fragile peace. One morning, Old Quan found Min sitting by the riverbank, staring into the water's depths. "You carry a heavy burden now," the elder said quietly. Min nodded. "I never thought sealing the curse would mean this." Old Quan looked out across the river. "The curse never truly dies. It transforms. It waits for the next guardian." The prophecy revealed. Min revisited the ancient scroll, searching for clues. Hidden beneath the fading ink was a prophecy long overlooked. Asterisk: when the blood of the sealed runs in a new heart, the guardian will rise, shadow and light intertwined, to protect the village from what lies beneath. The guardian must walk the line alone and unseen. Asterisk. The realization settled heavy in Min's chest. New shadows stirred. That night, as Min walked the village paths, a cold breeze brushed past him. From the corner of his eye, he saw a figure, a girl in white, watching silently. "Lean," he whispered. She vanished before he could reach her. A dark warning. The next day, strange occurrences unsettled the village. Cattle found dead, crops withering overnight, unexplained cold spots. Tu and Hai grew worried. Men knew the seal was weakening again. Old Quan approached with urgency. "There's a darkness returning," he warned. "Not the demon you fought, but its shadow. If left unchecked, it will consume everything." The ritual of renewal. To strengthen the seal, men needed to perform the ritual of renewal, a ceremony requiring sacrifice, faith, and the support of the villagers. As night fell, the village gathered at the shrine hill. Men led the ritual, chanting ancient words while the villagers joined in, lighting candles and offering tokens of goodwill. Lean's spirit appeared, glowing softly, joining the circle. The guardian's choice. The ritual reached its climax. Men felt the power coursing through him, binding, healing, and protecting. But he realized the cost. To maintain the seal, he must remain the village's silent guardian, forever bound to the curse's legacy. With a heavy heart, men accepted. A new dawn. Months passed. The village thrived, free from shadows. Min, though weary, found solace in knowing his sacrifice kept them safe. and when the moonlight touched the river, he sometimes saw Lean's smile, an eternal reminder of love, loss, and duty. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the village. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the soft murmur of prayers. Men stood alone atop the shrine hill, gazing at the river that had witnessed so many stories: laughter, tears, curses, and redemption. The weight of his years as guardian pressed on his shoulders, but his heart was at peace. The burden of the guardian. Years had passed since men accepted his fate, bound to protect the village from the restless spirits beneath the river's surface. He had become a shadow himself, unseen, unheard, yet always vigilant. The villagers thrived, children played freely, and the fields flourished. Yet, every night when the moon rose, men felt the soft whisper of Lean's voice, a gentle reminder of their unbreakable bond. A visitor in the night. One night, as men sat by the riverbank, the water's surface rippled softly. A figure emerged, delicate, radiant, yet ethereal. Lean. Her eyes sparkled with a sorrowful joy. "Min," she whispered, reaching out her hand. He smiled, the ache in his chest both familiar and unbearable. "You kept your promise," she said. "You kept me safe." The choice to release. Lean's presence shimmered like moonlight on water. "But the time has come," she continued. "The seals are strong. The curse no longer needs a guardian bound in shadows." Min's heart faltered. Freedom. After all these years. She took his hand gently. "Let me take your burden. Live your life." The last ritual. Under the full moon, at the shrine hill, Min and Lean performed the final ritual, a ceremony to sever the guardian's bond and release the spirits trapped for centuries. As they chanted, the air shimmered with light and shadow intertwining. Lean's form grew brighter, her face radiant with peace. Min felt years of weight lift from his soul. A tearful goodbye. As dawn approached, Lean smiled softly. "Thank you, Min. For love, for sacrifice, for everything." With a final embrace, she vanished, her spirit finally free. Min stood alone, tears tracing lines down his weathered face. The village woke to a new day, brighter, lighter, untouched by the past's darkness. Legacy of light. Min returned to his home, the river's gentle flow beside him. He was no longer guardian, no longer bound. He was simply a man who loved and was loved, who had faced shadows and emerged into the light. And in the breeze, he heard a lullaby, soft, sweet, and eternal. The story of the cursed grave was over. But the story of love, hope, and redemption would live on forever. Title: The Cursed Grave, A Tale of Shadows and Redemption. Description: In a remote village nestled beside the mystical Siren River, a dark curse binds the souls of four sisters, each marked by destiny and betrayal. Min, a young soldier, unwittingly becomes the key to unraveling centuries of pain, loss, and vengeance. As ancient spirits awaken and shadows rise, he must confront terrifying truths, sacrifice deeply, and embrace a guardian's burden to protect his people. Haunted by love and haunted by the past, Min's journey is one of forgiveness, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Will the curse be broken, or will the restless spirits claim another soul? The Cursed Grave weaves a chilling yet poignant story of love transcending lifetimes, the power of redemption, and the cost of peace.